I was looking at your podcast earlier. I was listening to some of the shows on there. You have an awesome podcast. It's called No Apologies. I encourage everyone to go check this out. You've been producing content lately related a lot to Rudolf Steiner's cosmology about the Ahriman. And I've recently
Yes.
done a couple of episodes on this, and I find this super interesting and fascinating. And I want to discuss a little bit about this tonight because I feel it's extremely relevant to our currently developing dystopian system.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
for those that really aren't familiar with Rudolf Steiner or the Ahriman, I was hoping you could briefly give like an overview to the audience about what are the Ahriman and the surrounding cosmology that Steiner so brilliantly theorized.
Well, it's really interesting. Rudolf Steiner, we're talking 1920s.
Yeah.
But the Ahriman materialism was something that he saw appearing right before his eyes, with the industrialization and what have you. But Ahriman goes back to Zoroastrianism. Right now, you have the Parsai in India, which are kind of the remnant of the Zoroastrians. You had Ahriman, which was the end of times, kind of what most people mislabel as Satan. It's probably more closer to the description that the Islamic faith gives to the Dajjal. He's the backside, the end of times entity. I think that's probably the best word to assign. At the beginning, you had Ahura Mazda. Ahura Mazda is like the light, the creator, still given a personality though, like an actual existence. They also include Luciferian teachings. Lucifer was the wisdom at the beginning. Knowledge was the trap, and Ahura Mazda was supposed to be the balance between the two of them. And Ahriman was the materialism. If you look at the technology we have today, this conversation is actually very relevant.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the so as far as the Ahriman, maybe let's go a little bit deeper in the description. It's sort of like this kind of fallen entity that's in control of technology and materialism, like you said. But isn't it also like a sort of legion of entities?
Well, Ahriman supposedly has what would be in Christianity demons.
Right.
In his Islamic faith, it would be jinn. He has an army that works for him, goes out and convinces people of this and that and the other, whether they're physical entities or they just whisper in your ear. That has been an argument that has been kind of back and forth over the centuries.
Right, and I've even
Could
heard
be
a couple of people theorize it could be like a form of AI that has
exactly.
invaded us.
Well, and I was going to get to that down the road. What
Yeah.
I have been researching are a lot of different backgrounds, and most people don't know what a tulpa is. And if you saw my podcasts, there's actually going to be one up this next weekend about a tulpa. But a tulpa is an entity that's formed out of energy. Modern New Age and modern Wicca says that you create a servitor. That's a tulpa. You focus energy on it, and it creates an entity, not a physical entity, an energy entity.
Right.
What I have been going through in my podcasts is we have had three religions. Okay. We've got, if you go back, there's more, but let's just talk about the main three. You have Christianity, Islam, Zoroastrianism, and we have the Hebrew religion. All of these religions, and I say Parsai Zoroastrians because they still are there, just not that many of them, not well known. But we have all these groups of people over centuries that have focused energy into the idea of Ahriman, Dajjal, Satan, which is a misnomer, and the Antichrist. What I have been saying is if you put enough energy out, and think about how many billions of people we're talking about who have focused on this. In the old teachings of Tulpa, it says you have to be in a meditative state. Well, think about what they do at church, or when they're praying, or when they're reading their scriptures, whichever one you want to choose. We literally billions of people put their energy into this entity. Even if it didn't exist, very likely it does by now, right?
You know, I was thinking about the concept of Tulpa earlier today, actually, and the amount of energy entities that could have been created over, say just even the last few years with the energy we put into UFOs and aliens. If you think about things like that, that could go even deeper into what could be created with the power of thought and energy and manifestation and things of that nature.
Well, and all the religions say that you can manifest. All of them say this. Look at a Buddhist monk. A very, very good example is look at the ki that a qigong performer can put out. That is
Yes.
manifested energy. That is manifested energy and proven. Now imagine billions of people putting their concentrated meditation and energy into a negative entity. So that's where the Tulpa idea comes in at. Then you add the description. It has to have a description. Well, look at all the religions. They have a very, very adequate description of what Ahriman, Dajjal, Satan is supposed to be.
Right.
It's supposed to be evil, indifferent to humanity, indifferent to life, a liar, a manipulator, a deceiver. If you go to the Dajjal, it only has one eye, and it appears to be human, but isn't. If you talk about Ahriman, back to Rudolf Steiner, he said that Ahriman would be in existence 40 years before it would be incorporated, as in, in a body. And for me, I'm looking at the technology that we have and what's been developed. If you were going to be an entity of energy and you wanted to be able to watch everybody as described by the religions, it's going to be able to see what everyone does. You wouldn't want to be a human. A human has limited scope. We've talked about this. It has limited scope, limited visuality, a limited ability to see things. You would not want to give up the entity that you were as energy. But how about an AI, which is what you brought up earlier?